Hello, everyone. My name is Jordyn Smith, and I am the voice and the astrologer for this YouTube channel, Nonconformist Conscience. This is going to be your weekly astrology forecast. There is a caveat to that, or to this, which is I'm going to do a separate video for the Leo full moon because I want to give it the attention that it needs. So there's going to be two videos, one where I go over this week's astrology this video except for the full moon. And then there'll be a separate video for the full moon. That way you guys get everything that you need out of that full moon and I don't have to skim over it. Before I dive into this, excuse me, I wanted to, one, welcome those of you who are new to my channel. I appreciate you subscribing and I hope you get a lot out of this. I wanted to let you all know that for the past year, I've been doing birthday specials, and although that is going to end with my last birthday special being in the sign of Aries, that if you are an Aquarius, your sun sign's an Aquarius, you have until the 20th to book a birthday special with me. And that is a $75 90-minute reading with me over Zoom that I will record so you can have later on after we meet. And I will go over your natal chart, any questions you have. And really that's where we talk about what it is that you're here to do in this lifetime. And um and how that's manifesting for you. It gives a lot of clarity, and I'll also go over your solar return for this year. After that, it's going to switch to Aquarius for a month, and then it'll be Aries for a month, and then I'm going to be done with doing birthday specials for the time being. But again, if you're new to my channel, I offer different specials throughout the year. I know my next one I'm going to have, if you're not, one of these birthday signs, is I will do a special for the eclipses, and you can be on the lookout for that. I like to make this channel and my services as inclusive as possible, um, and accessible. So I will always do things to help those be able to afford, getting a reading if you feel called to do so. Um, so there's that. Also, special announcement is that the Jeffery Green Evolutionary Astrology Association is about to start a new class series. And this class series is going to be going over Venus and sexuality. There is a free introductory class that will be held on March 1st at 10 a.m. Pacific time. And that is going to be led by Ari Moshe Wolf, Kristen Fontana, and Michelle Dench. And then the following classes will be taught by various teachers. I know it's Kristen, Ari, Michelle, Rav Shahal, Rose Marcus, and yours truly. Um, And the class that I'm going to be teaching is Venus and sexuality through the signs of Taurus and Scorpio. And I'm really looking forward to that. I will put a link below for the association. Um, and it's a membership for a whole year, and the class series is included with that. I know that they're about to announce this. I know that I'm recording this on February 7th, and they have not announced it yet, but I know the next coming days they're going to. I know that you can also just purchase the membership, and it's really affordable, for the year. And again, that class series is going to be included with it. Even if it doesn't talk about this class series, just know that this is a special announcement that I'm making on here. And I look forward to seeing some of y'all in participating in that class series. It's something I love talking about Venus, and I love talking about sexuality. I tend to have a lot of clients that come in wanting to talk about their sexuality or trauma or family dynamics, and that's kind of the areas that I love to talk about, included with asteroids. So this is right up my alley. It's an honor for me to be able to teach through the association, and I'm really looking forward to it. Lastly, if you want to have updates on announcements or be able to read the articles that I periodically write. If you go to my website, again, I will put a link in the description for you. If you go to the talks and teachings or forecast and teachings tab, um, and you click on it, if you click on one of my old articles, or even if you're just on that page, after about 30 seconds or so, I believe, a screen will pop up and it'll ask you if you want to subscribe. Put your email in there, hit subscribe, and then you will get, announcements, forecast, articles sent directly to your email. Um, and it's just a way for you to not miss out on whenever I do workshops or whenever I have specials going on. I typically put them on there before I announce them on this channel. So without further ado, let's talk about your weekly astrology forecast for February 8th through the 14th, minus the Leo full moon, because that will be a separate video. So there's a couple of things I want to talk about, which is, yes, Neptune is conjunct this north node in the sign of Pisces. And there's also Venus in Aries is square to the moon in what we call a first quarter square. And we also have Venus and Pluto sextiling each other in a what we call a crescent sextile. Um, what else? Is there something else I want to say? No. So I have these, I've annotated this for you. Keep this in your mind, and I'm gonna stop the share and talk about this. So this Neptune conjunct the North Node is really interesting to think about. This is not a one and done transit. This is an ongoing transit. Why? Well, Neptune and Saturn is going to pass over the same degree. Neptune and Saturn later on in the year, very shortly, in like a month for Neptune, and in 2 months, Saturn, they will enter a month apart into the sign of Aries. But then they are going to retrograde later on in the year, and they are going to retrograde back into Pisces and move over this 28-degree mark. So this transit that is being seeded, the seeds of this transit with Neptune conjunct the North Node at 28 degrees, is happening right now, but throughout the remainder of this year and a little bit into 2026, Neptune and Saturn are going to hit this 28-degree mark 2 more times. So this is an ongoing transit. So what is this really speaking to for us collectively and individually? Well, on the one hand, it's kind of paradoxical because Neptune is in a new phase to this North Node. So something is wanting to be initiated, yet Pisces and Neptune correlate with culmination. So this is seeding in new things in our conscious awareness that we're going to be working on initiating, but we're still needing to culminate some prior dynamics. And Pisces and Neptune speak to the totality of the whole zodiac. So it's wanting us to culminate long-standing dynamics. And it begs some different questions for us. Neptune and Pisces are really not just about culmination, but it is about vision, dreams, having a dream. Um, it's about our consciousness. It's about the totality of truth, not just a little bit, but the whole truth, that which is universal and timeless. Um, and it's about our faith and having hope. On the flip side, it can bring the opposite. It can bring in where we can have a loss of faith or a loss of hope, especially with things that are going on in the world. We can see that occurring right now as this conjunction is happening. But Neptune and Pisces is where we can spiritualize naturally, and that asks for us to face a void. That which once was there is no longer there, and that we have to sit and have patience and compassion in order for us to um, continue to have faith and hope that something new is going to be birthed. This is where collectively we can experience disillusioning situations. This also helps us to create improvement. But there's a lot that is wanting to culminate individually and collectively right now. And we are being asked to make new choices. And that means that we're having to learn how to improve upon these new choices which we are making. And we have, pretty much 13 months of dealing with this in order to figure out how. That way something new can be birthed. You can think of Pisces as the cosmic womb and Aries as birthing something because it's initiatory. So there's lots of dynamics that can come up, and it just really depends on where this falls in your chart by house and the aspects that it's making. This is a time that is really calling for us to have a deeper level of spirituality. It's where a lot of us can be wanting to access this Neptune because it is the higher octave of Venus to change the ways in which we inwardly relate to ourselves and also to strengthen our spiritual relationship. There's a lot of people that I think are feeling what's going on globally and collectively. And there's a heightened sensitivity because Pisces and Neptune correlates with pure emotion. It has no boundaries. And we are really tapping into the collective unconscious because that is also the archetype of Neptune and Pisces. And what it's asking for us individually is to really dive deep in and culminate some long-standing dynamics and to strengthen our spiritual focus and our inner relationship to self and our connection to that which we come from. And so a lot can come up over the next 13 months dealing with this. So I wanted to reiterate this and keeping in mind that Venus is going to go retrograde soon. I did a whole video on that. Check that out if you haven't. But it's really asking for us to tap into the higher octave of Venus as well in order to culminate and in order to naturally spiritualize in whatever way that is for you, that which is natural. Then moving on, we have this Venus in Aries at 3 degrees and a first quarter square to Mars in the sign of Cancer, not Mars, the moon in Cancer, which is the ruler of Mars retrograde. So this is a week where we can have some emotional triggers come up that are wanting us to really dive within. That way we can start to understand what these ever deeper layers of what's in our subconscious, what's in our, in our conscious, what it is that we are wanting to cultivate through creating new action. This is also where there are deep emotional dynamics throughout this week that can resurface in order for us to resolve. And with Venus square to that moon ruling Mars, um, it's wanting us to create action. But there can be this energy of a crisis in action. I don't know what to do. I don't know what choice to make. And this is pertaining to your own values and your own emotional state. So whatever comes up for you, there's this need to tap into your instinct, but to be responsible with it and to also cultivate action to continue to heal emotional dynamics that are speaking to the ways in which you inwardly relate to yourself. It's a bit paradoxical. It's throwing off the past with that Mars retrograde and also wanting us to initiate something. And so what comes up this week can end up coming back around later on through the Venus retrograde cycle, because this is where we get a few opportunities to really suss this out in order to understand what new patterns around self-reliance and emotional security that we are wanting to cultivate and initiate in a brand new way. It's also where we can kind of feel like we're having a little bit, for some people, a little bit of an identity crisis. I feel so far removed from who I used to be. Um, and I feel like a toddler who's trying to walk right now, and I don't really have my footing. And that's also seen with that Neptune conjunct the North Node. Saturn is in Pisces, ruled by that Neptune. The other overarching dynamic of this week is that Cassandra has now entered the sign of Pisces. So she is also ruled by this Neptune that is conjunct the North Node. Cassandra is all about understanding a truth, speaking out about it, recovering your voice if there's any trauma around speaking a truth and not being heard, believed, or seen, where you could have dealt with trauma around these dynamics. And Cassandra is also about not just recovering our voice, but it's recovering our ability to listen to ourselves, our inner voice, and also our our inner relationship to self. A lot of times Cassandra can bring up these dynamics where we feel like I don't even know who I am anymore, or I feel like I'm realizing I abandoned myself for self-preservation and I feel disillusioned because it's like, who am I? I'm so out of touch with my values and my needs and my ability to speak or my ability to use my inner knowledge. And with Cassandra and Pisces now, it's really wanting us to, one, not hide anymore, and two, to start the cycle of healing these dynamics and really tapping into, again, that higher octave of Venus, Neptune. She's ruled by Neptune. Cassandra correlates with Mercury and Venus because it's dealing with expression and it's dealing with the inner relationship. And so we are called to tap into what needs to be healed here. You can see with Venus square to that moon that this kind of brings in this energy. It brings it up for us to create an action to start doing this. And for some, not all, this can be where if you have been already working on these dynamics, for some people, there could be a lot of inner information coming through source, through the universe, through whatever you want to call it. Each one of us have a different name, God, goddess, it doesn't matter. But when we pay attention to our inner listening, there can be an absolute truth revealed that has the possibility to cultivate purposeful change, not just for yourself, but for others. And it's really about the crisis in action of how do I share this and who do I share this with and how do I go about doing this? But it will be rooted in truth. The other dynamic with Cassandra and Pisces now is that this can be where we're needing to dissolve feeling old patterns of feeling victimized by not being seen, heard. And so it's really important for us to pay attention to, are you complaining about old dynamics? Are you not creating change? What are you fearing? What are the intense emotions coming up? How are you being inwardly directed? Are you listening to that or are you denying it? So it's really about having faith and following through with these functions. Venus is also um, in a crescent sextile to Pluto. Um, this is where we can have the ability to bring objectivity to these dynamics on the one hand, but on the other hand, and that objectivity can really bring in some integration into a way of birthing a new way to relate to oneself through liberating from prior dynamics, especially of trauma. But this is also a dynamic that is wanting us to get in touch with if we feel anger about something or if we feel like we are being stifled in our independence and our freedom and the need to break free from if we are being um, held down and not being able to act on our freedom and our independence. And so there is a deep, deep need for us to look at what needs to continue to be liberated from. This is also that way integration can happen, but this is also this dynamic where um we could be having seeds of new desires come into our inner listening, and it's really about objectifying how does one want to go about creating action in order to implement this? Is this something that should be acted upon? Um, and then again, needing the freedom and the independence to be able to do that. Um, again, that Venus is ruled by Mars retrograde. So lots can be coming up around initiating a new cycle or a new way, a new layer of healing emotional dynamics through throwing off the past and really coming into an awareness of Aquarius has these where all of a sudden you're connecting dots, these aha moments. And so this can be a time where you're having a lot of aha moments around past instances of where you didn't create an action, where you're desiring to create an action now, where you might not have seen a specific emotional pattern or dynamic within, and you're being called to throw it off, to liberate from it, to not over-identify with the past. That way you don't keep projecting it onto the present moment. It's wanting us to move forward. Again, this is Venus is going to retrograde, and you're going to get two more passes of this sextile between her and Pluto to really help with emptying these kind of dynamics. So seeds of desire, um, seeds of action, seeds of um, healing, the possibility of what could be healed, but having this feeling of there's more to this than I thought. And this is a time period where we're going to really get to work on it, but this is initiating this. So the next day, on the 9th, let me share this chart with you. On the 9th, we are going to have Mercury conjunct the Sun in a new phase, or it's called a Mercury cazimi. I don't really use that term that often, but that's what a cazimi is. If you don't know, is whenever the Sun and a planet are conjunct. It happens once a year, usually. But it's, Mercury and the Sun are conjunct in a new phase, and they are squaring. They're not, and they're not making a square in perfection quite yet, but they will. Well, Mercury will. And then the sun will a couple days later, but it is square. So this is, on the one hand, these are two different types of square. This Uranus Mercury square is what we call a last quarter square. So that can be where there's a crisis in consciousness or a crisis in belief and not knowing how to create action. Whereas that sun is a first quarter square or entering into one. And so it's like this need to create action. So this is really going to be the emphasis on understanding this, peeling back the layers around this feeling can be coming up during this time. And as the square from both tighten, it's will be an emphasis on internalized pressure to create some type of action and needing to liberate from some type of false belief that's creating an action. And once you do that, it's this need to create this action. And that can feel crisis inducing because it can feel like this is brand new and this is freaking me out. It can be, I'm scared to do this because I'm about to do something. And what you need to do is you need to, is this you being in your truth? No matter if it could blow your life up or this or that, like whatever. If it's true for you, you need to do it. And that is going to help with this continued individuation and liberation process seen with, Aquarius and Uranus. It's going to create creative self-transformation. It's where all of a sudden you can have a download of information about what it is you're needing to do, but that induces a crisis and a belief. Can I do this? And then the crisis in action is I have to do this, but I'm really scared. And so you can feel a little paralyzed. So there's this need to really work with this. Remember that, Venus in Aries is ruling that Uranus. So it is speaking to create action. From that action, you will get to then improve upon it. And that is Mercury ruling the South Node in Virgo. The other thing that I want to point out is there's the Moon and Mars conjunction. It'll be, the Moon moves fast. Later on in the day, it'll be perfection. So again, a lot of this crisis and action, crisis and consciousness can be around these old deep-seated emotional patterns that it's wanting you to absolutely liberate from. And the cool thing about all of this is you look down here, Hecate is at 11 degrees, and she is in conjunct to Jupiter at 11 degrees in a what we call a gibbous in conjunct. So I'm going to stop this for just a second. This is interesting. Gibbous in conjunct gives a Virgo-like feel. Mercury is also ruling that Jupiter. Pluto is ruling Hecate. Pluto, the Sun, Mercury are all ruled by Uranus. Jupiter is conjunct the north node of Uranus, meaning that it's also in conjunct Hecate. We've got Jupiter that's dealing with our thinking and our beliefs. And we've got these signatures between Uranus and Mercury and the Sun that are having crisis around beliefs. That north node conjunct Jupiter is asking for us to liberate from beliefs. Whatever was happening with Jupiter retrograde that you were starting to understand about yourself, what's authentic, what feels true, what are the lies, what are the old beliefs that are not a truth. This can really pick up this energy of, what this is now, and you're needing to create action through improving upon it and feeling like I am scared. It can bring up frenetic energy because of the Aquarius and the Uranus and the North Node of Uranus conjunct that Jupiter, and Jupiter can make this feel magnified. There can be an immense amount of anxiety happening. And with Jupiter and the north node of Uranus conjunct, but in conjunct Hecate in Scorpio, that can feel Virgo like crisis like. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to believe. This feels true for me, but I've been told this. Gemini, all of these dynamics can be coming up. And here's the thing. That in conjunct to Hecate is absolutely wanting you to improve upon knowing your truth, knowing the truth. And then if you need to express it, to express it. If you need to make a choice, to make the choice that feels authentic. And Hecate in Scorpio is totally lighting a path. It can be where it's illuminating the path that you need to take. Where we can get hung up is not taking the path that we know intuitively we're meant to take. And that's where crisis can happen. But Hecate is really illuminating this for us to say, trust your intuition. And it's helping us get to the bottom of our emotional and psychological dynamics that are tethered into these old beliefs that could be suppressive or create a lot of resistance to doing what it is that we know that we need to do, or the path that we need to take, the choice that we need to take. And Hecate is there wanting to bust that open through illuminating it. And she is ruled by Pluto and Aquarius. This is about something for your own evolutionary growth and a past pattern where there's been resistance around these dynamics that is wanting to be liberated from. And through that, one can continue to transform their inner relationship to themselves through then. It's almost like once you take that action, even if there's fear, it will bring so much levity, and also it will open more pathways, and it will teach you about improving upon trusting your intuition, trusting your choice making, listening from within, understanding why you haven't in the past. It'll help you to improve upon liberating from these like psychological instances that are wrapped up in beliefs and thinking. And so this is a really powerful signature. Vesta and Hecate are conjunct. And Vesta is really about where one can devote oneself to a cause, whether it be spiritual or even something to be of service for. It's also where one is learning about their inner relationship and that they're already whole unto themselves. And so this, for some, can be illuminating this truth for them and the pathway that they're meant to take. It's also where both of these asteroid goddesses can create a lot of integration of self and transformation and create like creative regeneration. And so there's, even though that aspect is really hard that's going on between Hecate and Jupiter, there's really some great energy because of the archetypal nature of what Vesta and Hecate are, how they're conjunct, and also the north node of Uranus is on that Jupiter, really helping us to objectify this type of thinking rooted in these beliefs needs to absolutely be liberated from in order for me to take the path of authenticity, what feels true for me. So I really wanted to emphasize that. It's also where one can have some more spiritual or psi dynamics come up during this time. It's almost like you feel like you have your guides coming in, helping you, where you feel like all of a sudden this could be a path you want to take. That's a spiritual approach, but maybe you have been hiding who you are. And you're afraid that someone might, find out if you're doing divination or, all of these different things. It doesn't matter. You need to do what's true for you. and to devote yourself to that. And then a lot of reintegration of self can come through. And again, Hecate is lighting this path, like, go this way. Yes, you're right. Trust yourself. It's also where she's illuminating the things in our underworld, of why we haven't done that in the past and why we need to now to break free. Pluto and Aquarius ruling those. So then on the 12th, we have the Leo full moon, again, separate video. And then on the 13th, not much is going on the 10th and the 11th. That's why I'm not talking about it. Then on the 13th, we have the Sun and Ceres conjunct in a new phase. Love this. They're ruled by Uranus. It's bringing in this Uranian energy. Technically, this is still a square to both. And technically, it's conjunct to Mercury. Venus is going to be in conjunct the moon in Virgo. This is interesting. And Mercury is in conjunct the South Node. So is the Sun in Ceres. What is this meaning? What is this reflecting? To me, all of these inconjuncts are really bringing in that South Node of Virgo vibe. It's truly about improving and not denying what it is that you're needing to do. It's not being stuck in analysis paralysis. It's about really utilizing your higher mind and trusting your intuition to know what it is you need to do. And what really demonstrates this is not just the inconjuncts, not just the South Node being in Virgo, but you've got inconjuncts happening from the South Node to the Sun, Ceres, and Mercury. Something is wanting to be recovered. You could have lost something. You could have experienced a loss of different dynamics within, stemming from traumatic experiences in the past. These kind of fragmented pieces are really wanting you to recover them. That way you can start to improve in a holistic way. This is where we can really be confronted again. This whole week is our limited thinking, our beliefs, not denying our emotional dynamics, the need to liberate from that which doesn't feel authentic, any type of thinking, any type of beliefs. I can't restate this enough. In order to recover and to nurture one's own unique individuality. A lot of guilt or shame can be coming up in order for you to purge it through understanding that's not mine. That was someone else's that I took on. This is also where you can have these ideas around what you need to do for purposeful work. And it can be where you feel like there's a crisis of, I don't feel ready enough. I don't know how to do this. Well, you utilize this energy to create one action. Virgo is all about one step at a time. And through that action, you will take in information that will help you to learn and to improve in a multitude of ways that then helps you to continue transforming the way you inwardly relate to yourself. It's like jettisoning this old kind of thinking and dynamics that are impeding upon you doing what it is that you need to do to show up in the world, to feel like you have creative purpose, to feel like you are sovereign and a unique individual, that you have your individuality intact, that you're rediscovering, on the other hand, for some people, that you're rediscovering your individuality. And this need for us to take things a step at a time in order to improve, that really teaches us about how how perfection is an illusion. None of us start anything out perfect, unless you're like a savant. But that's because you have certain capacities. And some of us do, but there's still things that have to be improved there anyway. This can be where you're needing to improve upon what is what it is that you're wanting to share with others that is individualistic that you've been actualizing. That can be another dynamic for some people. No matter what, it's really imperative that action is created, and Venus in Aries is in conjunct that moon in Virgo. A lot of different Virgo psychological dynamics can happen: guilt, shame, fear, anxiety, perfectionism, analysis paralysis. But really, the only way through that is to start to create an action. And Venus and Aries is saying, create this action, and from that action, you will receive feedback. And that feedback you receive will then help you to improve. And then it will open up another step that you're going to have to create action for. So this is this time of really needing to follow your gut, your inner voice, your inner listening, your ideas, your desires, and your instinct. Very imperative. And then on the 14th, we have Mercury entering into the sign of Pisces, ruled by Neptune. Mercury is balsamic to Cassandra. Cassandra is in Pisces, it's just back here. There's just a lot of stuff on this wheel. It's balsamic to this Cassandra, both Neptune ruled. Jupiter and the South Node and the Moon are all ruled by this Mercury in Pisces. And we need to break this down. What is this speaking to? What is it correlating to? I already kind of went over Cassandra, but I told you Cassandra is dealing with Mercury and Venus issues. Again, there's something here that wants to be healed, dealing with needing to recover one's voice, one's inner knowledge, one's inner listening, one's inner relationship to self. And with Mercury balsamic to Cassandra and Pisces, it's really wanting us to heal where we might be buying into illusions or delusions that we can't do this, that it's too scary, that if I do this, something bad could happen. That's really hearkening to prior memories. There are steps that are wanting to be taken in order to culminate this. And then as Mercury passes over Cassandra within 2 days, it's going to be a new phase. So there's going to be a new phase that's initiated, that's wanting you to tap into that Pisces, Neptune, higher octave of Venus around relating to yourself differently through healing these dynamics, through having compassion for yourself, through having faith for yourself. And it's pulling in Jupiter and Gemini and the moon and the South Node and Virgo because all three of those are ruled by this Mercury. And so what this is speaking to is that we're really called to look at our emotional dynamics of where we're feeling guilt or shame, where that could be preventing us from doing what it is that we need to do. And that Jupiter and Gemini is really about needing to act on being authentic and expanding upon more knowledge, that there's more to this than we are thinking, that there's more truth to this, that I can be more authentic. I need to choose to do this. I need to follow my intuition. And as you do that, it helps with the self-improvement within healing these dynamics. So there's actually a lot of um, beautiful energy around this being healing and can help you to self-improve in a holistic way, mind, body, spirit. All right. This is also where it's, um, you know, a lot around expanding one's consciousness and needing to improve upon this, needing to be a voice, maybe for others. A lot can come up with in the next few days. And again, I'm going to go over the new phase conjunction to Cassandra next week, whenever it happens. But I just want you to remember that if you're someone who's really dealt with a lot of these Cassandra complexes and it's felt like you had to hide who you are, or you're living a life that is more duplicitous, Jupiter and Gemini, it's overcompensating Jupiter. Um, because of prior trauma around speaking a truth or being your authentic self and feeling alienated or feeling abandoned or betrayed for just being yourself. There's something here that's really wanting to be healed, and it can only be healed if you take the initiative to suss out if you're carrying guilt that's not yours, if you are denying your own emotional dynamics around this and needing to really explore the why of it all. And it's really about coming out of hiding if you are one of these people who's been hiding. And when we come out of hiding and we live authentically, it means we're no longer willing to live a living lie anymore. We're no longer to act and appear as something that we're not. And there is something really healing in that, because it also teaches you the lessons of if people are not willing to accept you and to have Piscean unconditional love for who you are and your authenticity, then that's not someone you need to have in your life. That doesn't mean that you hate them or that you don't have your own compassion for them. It's where you're making the choice to not re-victimize yourself by staying in a situation. It's where you're saying, I need to heal me and I need to recover um, my truth, my authenticity. And then taking that leap of faith. I've had to do this in my life. Within where I live with family. It was really scary. But what I can say, and I will say, you know, being traumatized from people not listening to me when I was really wanting to speak about the truth of what was occurring, Cassandra, and then having all types of projections imposed upon me, that what it did is it affected my self-esteem because I believed that. And I've had to recover my authenticity. At some point, it's like I just tried to be perfect for other people because I didn't want to be hurt anymore. And I quit talking about what it is, the truth. And what that did is it created a non-growth situation for me. So this is a time where we can really be healing those dynamics and needing to not hide anymore who we are and needing to forgive ourselves for living a lie for a while or avoiding. But again, this isn't for everyone. This is for some people. But it's really about just living authentically and how healing that is. And when you do that, it changes the way you inwardly relate to yourself. And then you start attracting people who absolutely love who you are, love your authentic nature. They don't mind the quirks or the things that other people didn't like about you, especially if you had a lot of depth or you were a truth teller. So this week can really be wanting us to culminate and to heal long-standing dynamics. It's another layer of this. And at the base of it, it's about recovering one's truth and sussing out the thinking and the beliefs that are impeding upon knowing that. And the full moon is speaking to a lot of this. And Again, I'm about to make a video for that for you all so you can watch it then and how it ties into all of this. So I hope you have a beautiful week. I hope that this forecast helps you. And remember that we all have purpose and it all looks different. And there's something unique about each one of us that serves a specific function and a role that we are meant to play in this world, or else we would not be living here. And it doesn't matter how big or how small that role is viewed. It's about actualizing that and not denying it, and about living authentically and living with grace. So I will see you all soon.